Hey guys, sup? Karma Phoenix here, bringing guys my very first ever Magic the Gathering video, or more specifically my very first Magic the Gathering Online MTGO video. Today I'm going to be going over deck tech, which is basically Magic's version of a deck profile for my standard format mono red aggro deck. It used to be a very dominant contender. As of about 3 days ago, it's now being the only thing that was beating it was red black aggro. I'm sorry. But now there's other things according to MTG Goldfish. It's performing a bit more than that in the metagame, but whatever. It doesn't matter because this deck is still really good. I'm going to go ahead and go over it. I will say I paid this for this deck in two different increments. I think I paid about 20 for the first batch. No, I paid 40 for the Chandras. No, 50. I paid 50 even for the place of Chandra foils. And on top of that, I paid, what was it, about 80, I think, for the rest of the deck. So that plus the $10 fee to get in with tax, you're only looking at about 150-ish to have access to MTGO and the best deck, which well beats paper considering that it's like 300. So, it's awesome. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get into deck tech. So, as you see, I even took time to sort it out by the lands, creatures, etc., and then alphabetically sorted them for the most part. Like, colorless will always be first, then the colors in alphabetical order, and then creatures in alphabetical order, etc., etc. Alright, so, let's start this. First off, it's just your standard 60 card deck. Something unique to Magic the Gathering is you have to have a minimum of 60 cards, but you can have as many cards as you want in your deck, so long as you're able to shuffle it unassisted. Which, it's kind of a funny ruling, but let's be honest, no one's gonna walk in with this massive 150 card deck, right? Because I mean, just nobody would. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. We have 20 lands, 24 creatures, and 16 others, so it's pretty well balanced across the board. And pretty much the entire deck is foiled out because that's what the money's for. Anyway, I just feel that if you're gonna buy something, buy it once and buy it well, quality over quantity. So, starting off, we have our playset of Sun-Scorched Desert. What this does is, okay, anyway, this is probably one of my favorite cards. It's a desert land, it's colorless, so when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to target player or a planeswalker, and you can tap it to add a colorless mana to your mana pool. Well, I mean, it doesn't actually add it to your mana pool, it's just like, it's kind of like invisible mana, Like, it's there on your board for that turn, but then it's like, it's not really there. And I love it. It came in Amonkhet. I love it to death. It's amazing. Probably my favorite land of all time. Next up, we're running 4 copies of Desert of the Fervent. This isn't really used early game unless it's literally your first mana because it comes into play tapped. However, tapping it to add a red mana isn't the worst if you're like stuck with no mana in hand. You can just tap it to start building up that pool. And I mean, it disappears at the end of the turn, but anyway, it's mainly used for the cycling effect, where towards the mid to late game when you have enough mana, it's a 2-drop, and you discard this card to draw another card, which is nice. On top of that, we're just playing 12 basic lands. Just a mountain, nickel bolas. This also came in Amonkhet, I believe. Yeah, no, this came in Hour of Devastation. And all of these 12 mountains, foil mountains, came in Amonkhet. And it's just the nickel bolas full art one, just because I like that one artwork in particular. So that's it for the lands. Moving on to the creatures. We're running 4 copies of Uncropped Crasher. So it's a 3-drop, which is 2 colorless, and 1 red, for a 3/2 Minotaur Warrior with haste. And when it attacks, you can exert it to make it to where one target creature can't block this turn. And after exerting it, it cannot untap during the controller's next untap step. So it's still really good. It's free damage. It gets stuff off the board if you need it to, and it can potentially end the games with a hefty 3 damage per swing, so that's nice. Next up is the 4 copies of Beaumont Courier. It's just a really good card. This is amazing. Okay, oh yeah, and I should mention that this also came in Amonkhet. Beaumont Courier is probably the most, well, I'd say probably the most used artifact, yeah, currently. I mean, yeah, Mardu vehicles and stuff like that exist, and that's all well and fine, but I mean, I'm sorry, I just think this is the most used, in my opinion, anyway. So, first off, it's a 1-drop of any color for a 1/1 with haste. So when it attacks, you exile the top card of your library face down. However, neither you or the opponent can look at it. Okay. So let's just go over a quick little thing you can do with a quick little combo you can do with this. So basically, what you do is you will play first turn, okay? You play Sunscorched Desert. It does not come into play tapped. It burns your opponent for 1. Tap it, Beaumont. Beaumont will have haste, so it swings for 1. And then that's 2 damage instantly, which is awesome. Unless they somehow counter it. But, I mean, first turn, they're not really going to. And then, for a single red mana, you discard your hand and sacrifice Beaumont. And you put all cards exiled with this card's effect into their owner's hands. Which is amazing. First off, that sets off Azarat the Fervent, which is the only card I'm missing for the deck. And on top of that, it's just so good. Like, it's honestly just amazing. I mean, when you're down to like 1 card, I think you can even use a skill when you're at 0 cards in hand. 1 red, you have nothing to discard, you pop them, and then you get all those cards exiled back. The only problem is keeping them alive, but, you know, it's whatever with the removal we have. Next up, we have 4 copies of Earthshaker Kinra. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I keep on forgetting to explain. Beaumont came with, what was it, Kaladesh or Aether Revolt? I believe it came with Kaladesh. But yeah. Next up we have Earthshaker Kinra, which is a 2-drop for a 2/1 with haste, and it's another exerter. So as soon as it enters the battlefield, target creature with power less than or equal to Earthshaker Kinra's power can't block this turn. So instantly, anything with 2 or less power can't block this turn. And it has an eternalized cost of 6 for colorless and 2 mountain. To exile this card from your graveyard and create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie jackal warrior with no mana cost, and it's counted as a sorcery. So it can only be done during your turn, but still, it's an amazing card because it essentially lives twice. And it's just so good because, again, it's basically now 2 free damage. which came from Amonkhet. So yeah, I'm sorry, Hour of Devastation. I keep getting the two mixed up. Just every set in this block I keep getting mixed up, honestly, because Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan, Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation, and then Aetherol and Kaladesh. But anyway, next up we have 4 Fanatical Firebrand. Only one's foil, but whatever. The card hoarder ran out of stock, so whatever. I will make a separate video on the 2 stores I purchased from, but oh my goodness, I cannot recommend either TCG Player or Card Hoarder enough. It's fantastic. Anyway, Fanatical Firebrand. It's a 1-drop single red for a 1/1 with haste, and you sacrifice it and tap it to deal 1 damage to literally anything. It's so good. I mean, like I said, the amount of fast damage you can deal with this is just insane. This deck allows you to just do so much that you normally wouldn't be able to do. It came out in Rivals of Ixalan. It's just, I mean, this deck is just one of my favorite because I know it seems like I'm like some meta sheep, right? But I swear, man, mono red is my favorite deck type of all time. Just mono red, man. Like back in the day, I was playing goblins, and I think a long time ago, I even had Urza's Rage deck versus Fire Action Duel deck. It was awesome. Anyway, moving on. I mean, so that's pretty cool. It can be a player, it can be a creature, it can be a planeswalker, literally anything. It's just so good. Anyway, next up, we have probably the most devastating card, or at least one of the most devastating cards in the deck, which is the 3-drop, 4 copies of Goblin Chain Whirler. This by far is the most lethal goblin in existence. So it's a 3-drop with triple red for a 3/3 with first strike. The only thing keeping this from being godly is that it doesn't have haste. Thank the gods this doesn't have haste, because that'd be broken. First strike, so this trades, well, it doesn't even trade, it kills with anything basically. Because 3/3 is amazing for a 3-drop. Okay, I have this little kind of mindset, right, where I want the power and toughness to equal the mana drop, the CVC, right? So, for an example, I kind of like bears, right? Because, like, Grizzly Bear is a 2-drop for a 2/2. Awesome. Pretty cool. You're getting the same power and toughness as you're paying for the mana cost, which is cool. Goblin Chain Whirler costs 3 mana. You're getting a 3/3 at first strike and an awesome ability, which states that when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker they control. So it's basically a blazing lolly on legs, and it's just so good. I mean, I cannot begin to tell you how good this is. I mean, seriously, Dominaria just gave this everything we need. Next up, for the last creature in the deck, we have the 4 copies of Soulscar Mage, which came in Amonkhet. It's a 1-drop for a 1/2 with Prowess. So, just in case you don't know what Prowess is, I'll go ahead and explain it. So, first off, a little backstory. Prowess was a keyword introduced in Khan's Gear for the Jeskai Way for clan and Fate Reforged, and R&D's need for blue to get a combat-relevant keyword that wasn't about evasion caused Prowess to become evergreen in Magic Origins. So it's just a triggered keyword, and I'm just reading this straight off the wiki page, MTG wiki. So it was introduced in context to Kier in last season ever Reigns of Prowess. Its effect states that whenever you cast a non-creature spell, so you can't cast creatures or lands, but if you cast a planeswalker, an artifact, a sorcery, an instant, whatever, this creature gains +1/+1 until end of turn, and it's so good. It is so good. But on top of that, if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a creature an opponent controls, put that many -1/-1 counters on that creature instead. So it buffs itself while debuffing the enemy. So say you want to use a shock on an enemy with Soul Scar on the field. Okay? Instead of dealing 2 damage, it deals 2 -1/-1 counters instead, while also +1/+1ing this guy, making him a 2/3 while the opponent's at like a 1/1, which is amazing. Or it could even kill it outright. It's just such a good card, as every card in this deck is. I mean, it's just... Dude, I love this deck so much. Next up, we have 4 copies of Abrade. It was introduced in Hour of Devastation. It's a 2-drop, 2-cost, instant, speed, spell. Okay? And you choose one of these two, which either deals 3 damage to any target creature, which, again, kills basically any of the mainly used creatures, or at least from early to mid-game, played. And it destroys any target artifact. Anything that's an artifact. So, keep that in mind, because that is something. That is something else. That's a very powerful ability. Besides that, moving on to the rest, we have 4 copies of Shock. It's so good. You pay 1 mana. It's just a single red to deal 2 damage to any target. Player, creature, planeswalker, doesn't matter. It's just there. It's fantastic. And on the flip side of that coin, we have 4 copies of Lightning Strike, which is 2 mana for a CVC of CVC, which is 1 colorless and 1 red, to deal 3 damage to any target. So it's 1 extra mana, and it does an extra damage, which is amazing. It's so good. Like, I can't express how amazing this deck is. And to wrap it all off, we have Chandra the Mind Sculptor, Chandra Torch of Defiance. Now, Chandra Planeswalkers have been notoriously bad. Nezahan Magic's top 5, top 10 MTG worst Planeswalkers video. Out of the 10 Planeswalkers, worst Planeswalkers on that list, okay? Four of them were red Planeswalkers. 4 of them. That's literally just under half the list being comprised of red Planeswalkers. So red Planeswalkers are already pretty bad, if we take that into account. But then, when you consider that 3 of those 4 red Planeswalkers were Chandras, that's where it gets, that's where the oof comes in. Because red Planeswalkers are already pretty bad compared to other colors. But then, when you look at the Chandra Planeswalkers, and 3 of the 4 of them were on his top 10 worst list, it's just awful. So finally, we got not only a good Chandra Planeswalker, not only a good red Planeswalker, but I dare say something to rival Jace the Mind Sculptor in that it is, I'd have to say, probably in the top 3 best Planeswalkers ever released by Wizards of the Coast. It's just that good. So it's 2 colorless and 2 red. It starts off with 4 loyalty, and it's got 4 different abilities. That's amazing. So it's got 2+1s. It either can exile the top card of your library, and you can cast that card. If you don't, you deal 2 damage to each opponent. Okay, cool. Its other +1 is add 2 reds, not from your library. You don't search 2 reds from your library. You just add 2 invisible reds that you can choose to spend however you wish. Unlike where Balance, Giant Balance, or however you say it, was 3 red mana for instants and sorceries only. Its -3 allows you to deal 4 damage to target creature, so that kills really just about anything. I mean, even towards the beginning of the late game, I'd imagine this can kill basically anything. And then its ultimate is literally game ending. For -7, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, any spell that is not a land, this emblem deals 5 damage to any target. Player, creature, planeswalker, I mean, it's amazing. If you wanted to, no, this is a nasty combo. You could do, if you have 6 mana, use 4 of it on Chandra. Well, we'll just say you only have 2 mana, right? No, you would have had that 4 to cast Chandra. Let's just say you only have 4 mana, okay? That's not unreasonable. That's not unreasonable. You have a Chandra that's at 7 somehow. So you're ready to use the ult. You use her ult, she dies, you get the emblem. Okay? You cast 1 lightning strike, which your target for it is the player. The enemy player, of course. That's 3 damage from the base spell, plus 5 from the emblem since you cast a non-land spell. Because, keep in mind, creatures are technically counted as spells. That's 8 damage. That's 8 damage. If that doesn't end you, you know it's taking basically half your remaining health. You could go from 20, from like full HP, to basically half your life total, just because of that one combo. And then you use it again, boom, they're dead. Or if they're at full, they have, what, maximum 4 HP left. So it doesn't really matter. It's just, it's so good. It's unbelievable. And on top of that, you'll probably have a pretty good board state as well for creatures, so you can swing for game. Anyway, that's it for the main board, just a 60 card standard minimum. We got the 15 card maximum sideboard. Starting off with 3 cards as expertise, which is 1 colorless and 2 reds, which is a sorcery. So you gain control of any target creature or vehicle until the turn. You untap it and gain haste until the turn. Then you may also cast a card with a converted mana cost of 2 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. It's really good. It's just not good enough to make its way into the main board. But if my opponent is playing vehicles or something like that, then I probably would side it in. And next up, we have the hate card against red. 4 copies of Chandra's Defeat. This is really only used because of how dominant red is in the meta right now. But for a single red mana, you deal 5 damage to target red creature or red planeswalker. And if the permanent was a Chandra planeswalker, you may discard a card to draw a card. Which, just to quickly go over it, okay? This came in, I believe, Aether Revolt. This came in Kaladesh, I want to say. And they came in the same set, it looks like. This came in Hour of Devastation. And next up we have 4 copies of Puncturing Blow. This came in Hour of Devastation as well. It's 4 mana, which is kind of hefty, 2 colorless and 2 red, to deal 5 damage to target creature, which literally kills anything I've ever seen on a board at any time in the past week. If that creature would die this turn, it's exiled instead. It's so good. It's so good. Finally, we're going to wrap it off with 4 copies of Glorybringer, which came in Amonkhet. It's a 5-drop for 4/4 flying and haste, and you can exert it as it attacks to deal 4 damage to any target non-dragon creature an opponent controls. It's amazing. Because hardly anything's played in the main board, much less even in the sideboard, honestly, with reach or flying. So you basically just have a guaranteed win condition right there if you need it. So with that being said, that's the deck tech. I hope you guys enjoyed. I've been your host, Cardmaster Phoenix, signing out. See you guys next time. Have a good one.